So the movie starts with the male protagonist, Lao Ju, enjoying a barbecue at his large house. The sky is blue, the sun is shining, and flower petals drift gently in the breeze. His wife, smiling warmly, helps him prepare the food, while their 2 golden retrievers wander freely around the yard. It's a picture-perfect scene of happiness that many people dream of. Lao Ju is indeed a very enviable middle-aged man. In his career, he works at a major company called Taiyang Paper, earning a solid income. On his wife's birthday, he gives her a pair of beautiful dancing shoes, knowing she loves to dance. She's delighted, showers him with praise, and even pulls him into a dance on the spot, filling the moment with warmth and affection. Lao Ju has worked at Taiyang Paper for 25 years, but recently the company was acquired by an American corporation, leading to massive layoffs. As a longtime employee, Lao Ju is unwilling to accept this. He wants to stand up for his colleagues, so he carefully prepares a speech and even rehearses it in advance. However, when he goes to confront the management, they don't even bother listening. They brush him off, saying there's nothing they can do. People have to be laid off. Lao Ju then asks, "What about me?" The answer comes bluntly, "You're laid off too." It turns out that Lao Ju himself is on the list. Furious, Lao Ju feels humiliated. Having just lost his job, he falls into a bad emotional state. He even joins a support group for the unemployed, where a motivational speaker passionately encourages everyone, saying their families will support them and that they will rise again. During a break, Lao Ju video calls his wife. She continues to encourage him, reminding him that he was once brave enough to propose to a single mother, and telling him she believes in him. Motivated by her words, Lao Ju begins to pump himself up again, saying, 3 months, just give me 3 months after that, I will definitely become successful again. Forget 3 months, it's already been more than a year, and Lao Ju still hasn't returned to his middle-class life. Instead, he's now working as a supermarket porter. Unfortunately, he is now on the verge of being unable to keep up with the mortgage payments. His dream home is about to become a heavy burden. After receiving a notice from the bank demanding repayment, his wife calls a serious family meeting and lays out 3 key points. At that moment, Lao Ju silently swears to himself that he must protect his family and his home. Determined, he immediately grabs his resume and rushes to Quay Paper Company to fight for a job. Perhaps he's too desperate to care about dignity or proper etiquette anymore. He even corners the factory director in the restroom, practically begging and kowtowing. At a critical moment, manager Quay steps in and helps the director out of the awkward situation. Seeing Lao Ju embarrassed and humiliated afterward, he even kindly invites him to a bar across the street for a drink. While at the bar, Lao Ju scrolls through manager Quay's social media videos, which are filled with scenes of his happy and carefree life. This makes Lao Ju feel even worse. Why can someone in the same industry be so successful and live so freely, while he struggles like this? That night, Lao Ju watches a video interview of manager Quay, while his wife tries to comfort him. She says jokingly, "I feel like no man in the world is more capable than my husband. Anything he can do, you can do too." Though she says it casually, Lao Ju takes it deeply to heart. To him, it feels like divine inspiration. He begins to think, if you have competitors in the workplace, why not eliminate them? In a shrinking economy where jobs are limited, if he removes the other candidates, wouldn't the holes, positions, become available for him? The next day, Lao Ju starts acting suspiciously, secretly looking for a chance to make his move. Finally, he spots manager Quay downstairs, calmly talking to his wife on the phone. Lao Ju seizes the opportunity. After trying out several potential weapons, he ultimately picks up a flower pot with chili plants and prepares to strike from above. But just as he's about to act, he suddenly realizes that the Quay Paper Company is thriving, and manager Quay's position is highly desirable. Killing just one person won't solve anything. There will always be many other competitors waiting to take the spot. At that moment, a much bigger and darker plan forms in Lao Ju's mind. From here, the film takes a turn into an increasingly absurd and satirical direction. Lao Ju first posts a fake job advertisement, claiming to represent a newly established paper company urgently hiring talent, with preference given to those who can speak Japanese, since that is a requirement for manager Q's position. In the ad, and asks applicants to provide as much detailed information and photos as possible, insisting on physical mail submissions instead of online applications. Through this scheme, Lao Ju gathers a large number of resumes from people in the same industry. He then carefully compares and analyzes them, identifying those who might pose a threat to his future job prospects. The first target he selects is a man named Lao Ju, a very old-fashioned and traditional individual. He listens only to vinyl records, takes photos only with film cameras, and writes only on paper. However, in 2023, Lao Ju was laid off due to corporate restructuring. Lao Ju had been unemployed at home for a full 8 months, doing nothing but eating, drinking, burping, and wasting his days away. His wife could no longer tolerate it and scolded him as a useless burden. When Lao Ju first saw the job advertisement posted by Lao Ju, he suddenly felt a surge of hope, as if his stagnant life had come alive again. Little did he know, what awaited him was a carefully laid trap. Lao Ju possessed an old Korean Type 64 pistol passed down from his ancestors, which had been well preserved in a display cabinet. To carry out his elimination plan, he decided to use this gun. Being cautious, he even bought a replica to replace the original in the cabinet, ensuring no one would notice. He then spent a long time secretly surveilling Lao Ju's house and unexpectedly discovered that another man who had been visiting Lao Ju's wife, Xiao Ya, was having an affair. In truth, Lao Ju and Xiao Ya once had a loving relationship, but unfortunately, love often cannot withstand the wear and tear of real life. Faced with her current husband lifeless, sloppy, and defeated, Xiao Ya felt disappointed and resentful. Family members had previously advised Lao Ju to open a cafe or try something new, but he stubbornly insisted on staying in the paper industry, believing it was his destined career. However, recently, with the prospect of a new job opportunity, Lao Ju seemed revitalized. He even started to improve his relationship with Xiao Ya, and the two planned a sweet camping trip together in the hills. Xiao Lu failed to find a chance to kill Lao Ju in the mountains. Instead, he was bitten by a snake and rolled down the hill, where Xiao Ya happened to find him. Without hesitation, she tried to help him, attempting to suck out the venom in what seemed like a professional manner. Luckily, the snake was not venomous. That night, Xiao Lu developed a fever. While talking with his wife, holding his wife, he expressed guilt, saying he knew she needed emotional support, but he had been too busy looking for a job. His wife suggested he consider changing careers, but Xiao Lu rejected the idea, saying he had worked in the paper industry for 25 years, and it was his destined path, ironically echoing Lao Ju's stubborn belief. The next morning, his wife carefully tied his tie and wished him luck for the interview, but instead, Xiao Lu secretly sneaked into Lao Ju's house, ready to finally eliminate his competitor. However, just as he was about to act, it turns out that whenever Lao Ju goes out to attend his drinking support meetings, that's exactly when his wife's lover sneaks into the house. Since his target isn't home, Xiao Lu leaves. But on the way back, he unexpectedly sees Lao Ju returning early because the event was cancelled, so he quickly turns around as well. Although Xiao Lu intends to kill Lao Ju, he also genuinely empathizes with him. After all, they share the same fate. Seeing Lao Ju already struggling so much, Xiao Lu hesitates to push him further. In a moment of conflicted sympathy, Xiao Lu calls Lao Ju and urges him to go to the interview immediately, hoping to keep him from entering the house. Lao Ju, excited at the thought of a job opportunity, says he'll just go inside to change clothes first. But once he enters, he discovers the truth about his wife's affair. When he comes back out, he is completely shattered. Witnessing Lao Ju's misery makes Xiao Lu even more sensitive and insecure. As the saying goes, inferiority breeds suspicion. He begins to feel uneasy seeing his wife getting close to Dr. Wu, responding with sarcasm and passive-aggressive remarks, while she simply rolls her eyes and ignores him. Burning with frustration, Xiao Lu returns once again to Lao Ju's house. By this time, Lao Ju is heavily drunk, blasting loud music so intensely that they have to shout to hear each other. Mistaking Xiao Lu for his wife's lover, Lao Ju challenges him aggressively. As Xiao Lu removes layer after layer of gloves, finally revealing the pistol tightly gripped in his hand, Lao Ju is stunned. To steady his hands, Xiao Lu has even wrapped the gun to his hand with plastic wrap. At that moment, Xiao Ya returns home. Seeing the situation, she doesn't dare to make a sound, and quietly picks up Lao Ju's trophy, intending to ambush Xiao Lu from behind. However, their conversation stops her. Lao Ju shouts that Xiao Ya truly loves him. Xiao Lu questions him, and Lao Ju retorts, "Does being unemployed mean a man is no longer worthy of love?" The word unemployed triggers Xiao Lu's emotional breakdown. He yells back, accusing Lao Ju of being stubborn, of refusing to listen to his wife's advice to open a cafe, and of failing to take responsibility, saying he should sell the house and work manual jobs if necessary. Listening from behind, Xiao Ya nods repeatedly, fully agreeing, and even accidentally speaks out loud. Xiao Lu panics and accidentally fires the gun, hitting Lao Ju in the shoulder. Xiao Ya immediately swings the trophy and knocks the gun out of his hand. The three of them struggle on the ground, fighting over the weapon. In the end, Xiao Ya manages to grab the gun. Lao Ju claims he used to be a soldier and asks her to give it to him. Realizing things have gone terribly wrong, Xiao Lu scrambles to escape. A gunshot rings out, but the one who falls is not Xiao Lu, but Lao Ju. Xiao Ya, however, begins screaming hysterically, and in a frenzy, she keeps firing the gun. Xiao Ya chases after Xiao Lu like a madwoman, firing wildly. Xiao Lu barely manages to escape and get into his car, only to realize that it's almost out of fuel. Meanwhile, his wife has already called him 10 times, but when he calls back, she doesn't answer. It turns out that tonight is the cosplay dance party they had talked about earlier. Remembering this, Xiao Lu rushes home to change into his outfit and then hurries to the venue. When his wife sees him arriving late and looking disheveled, she's clearly unhappy. Out of frustration, she pulls Dr. Wu onto the dance floor and starts dancing passionately with him. This completely breaks Xiao Lu's composure, and he storms off in anger. He goes back near Lao Ju's house and sees Xiao Ya and her lover secretly disposing of Lao Ju's body. Afterward, while they are distracted, Xiao Lu sneaks in, digs up the spot, and retrieves the gun that had been buried along with the body. Later that night, after the party ends, his wife returns home alone, feeling upset. To her shock, she finds Xiao Lu rummaging through the wardrobe. He has gone through all her underwear and discovered that her most seductive black lace set is missing. Now convinced that she must be having an affair, Xiao Lu loses control and lunges at her. Seeing his crazed state, his wife is heartbroken and asks if he has been drinking. In anger, his wife throws her underwear at his face to prove her innocence. Xiao Lu, after checking, realizes there's no sign of another man, but he still feels uneasy. Xiao Lu decides to focus on his elimination plan. His next target is Xiao Gao, who used to drink and chat with colleagues, but now works as a shoe store clerk to make a living. Seeing Xiao Gao's humble and difficult life, especially knowing he has a daughter, Xiao Lu hesitates, but he convinces himself he has no choice. He tricks Xiao Gao into staying late at work by saying he'll come buy shoes for his daughter at 8 p.m., then plans to ambush him on his way home. Since Xiao Gao used to be a mechanical repairman, Xiao Lu lies that his car is broken. Xiao Gao, thinking he might gain a customer, kindly offers to help. Xiao Lu attempts to shoot him from behind, but hesitates too long and gets noticed. Xiao Gao tries to run, but in the panic, Xiao Lu pulls the trigger and shoots him. In his panic, Xiao Lu doesn't even realize that he has left behind a shell casing at the scene. He then drives home and begins digging a hole in his backyard to bury the body. He digs all night until exhaustion overtakes him. At dawn, his wife wakes him up in a panic, saying the police have arrived at their house. Xiao Lu's heart sinks. He thinks the police have already solved the case so quickly. Gathering his courage, he steps out, ready to confess everything. But to his surprise, the police completely ignored him. Instead, they take his son away. While Xiao Lu was out committing murder that night, his son was also getting into trouble. Together with the son of the man who had previously come to buy their house, the two boys stole that man's phone. However, Xiao Lu reacts quickly and acts like a heartbroken father, devastated by his son's wrongdoing. He even rushes to stand in front of his car trunk to block the view of Xiao Gao's corpse, which is partially exposed. His wife urges him to hurry and drive to the police station, and once they arrive, Xiao Lu catches up with the police and his son. His wife also steps in fiercely to protect their child. After dealing with his son's issue, Xiao Lu returns to his own crimes. That night, he blocks off the greenhouse and attempts to dismember Xiao Gao's body. He simply can't bring himself to do it. In the end, he ties the body up with gardening wire and buries it in the soil, planting a tree over it. Although everything seems handled, the police soon come knocking. They approached Xiao Lu because he, Lao Ju, and Xiao Gao had all attended the same interview earlier. Ironically, they warned Xiao Lu to be careful, believing he might be the next target, completely unaware that he is the killer himself. The police later find Xiao Gao's car and a shell casing at the scene. They begin to suspect that a serial killer might be targeting elite professionals in the paper industry using a Korean Type 64 pistol. One night, manager Quay is driving and singing when Xiao Lu suddenly jumps out and blocks his car, startling him. Smiling, Xiao Lu says he enjoys watching Quay's social media videos and invites him out for a drink. Manager Quay is already slightly drunk, but he arrogantly agrees, gesturing for Xiao Lu to follow him. At the dinner table, Xiao Lu keeps pouring drinks for Quay while not drinking himself. Soon, Quay becomes heavily intoxicated and starts complaining about how exhausting his job is. When manager Quay says he really needs another manager to help share the workload, Xiao Lu suddenly becomes excited. He thinks that if there's one more position available, then he wouldn't have to go through all the trouble of eliminating his competitors. Xiao Lu kept whispering in his ear, begging him to recommend him, promising that he would become his most capable partner. Eventually, manager Quay reluctantly agrees to give it a try. At first, Xiao Lu is overjoyed, but then he gets carried away and says the wrong thing. He casually implies that manager Quay must be taking kickbacks, given his luxurious lifestyle. This instantly darkens Quay's expression, but he knows deep down that any chance of recommendation is probably gone. He even starts thinking, should he just kill manager Quay right now? At that moment, manager Quay comes back with more alcohol and forces Xiao Lu to drink. After hesitating for a while, Xiao Lu decides to break his abstinence. Once he drinks, it's as if something inside him is unleashed. He no longer holds back. Watching Quay lose consciousness from drunkenness, he ties up the unconscious Quay, wraps his body in plastic and bags, and begins digging a hole. Meanwhile, back at home, his wife is also digging. Earlier, when Xiao Lu tried to dismember Xiao Gao's body, their son had secretly witnessed it while smoking on the roof. However, the boy misunderstood, thinking his father had killed and buried a pig because Xiao Lu had once told him stories about dealing with sick pigs on a farm. When the police had visited earlier, his wife had already sensed something was off. She checks the gun at home only to find it replaced with a model. She immediately digs up the yard and discovers the buried body, finally realizing the truth. Her husband hasn't been acting strange because he's having an affair, but because he's been committing murders. Even so, she doesn't tell their son the truth, instead sticking to the pig story. At the same time, Xiao Lu has already buried manager Quay, leaving only his head exposed. Suddenly, his wife calls him on video. She doesn't confront him directly, but gently asks him to come home, saying that whatever problem they face, the family can handle it together. Just then, manager Quay regains consciousness. Xiao Lu hurriedly ends the call and takes a funnel, stuffing it into Quay's mouth, then force-feeds him minced meat. He stages Quay's death to look like an accidental choking incident while intoxicated. The plan works. After killing him, Xiao Lu removes the wrappings, places the body on the sofa in a drunken pose, and carefully restores the crime scene, cleaning thoroughly to leave no trace. Before leaving, deliberately turns on music to make everything appear natural and meticulous to the end. Xiao Lu returns home. His wife has clearly been waiting all night. Neither of them says anything directly. Xiao Lu tries to hug her. She initially pulls away but eventually gives in. The two, both with red, exhausted eyes, embrace each other in silence. In the end, Lao Ju's wife, Xiao Ya, unintentionally became Xiao Lu's accomplice. As an actress, she put on a convincing performance in front of the police, misleading them into believing that Lao Ju and Xiao Gao had long-standing conflicts due to work. She claimed that Lao Ju, already resentful after losing his job, had taken a gun from home, killed Xiao Gao, and then fled in fear of punishment. The police accepted this version of events. As a result, Xiao Lu successfully escaped suspicion. He even obtained the job he had long desired, kept his house, brought the dogs back home, and together with his wife managed to hold their fragile family together. With this scene, our movie ends here. Thanks for watching.